There are two kinds of metal bands, the ones that change their sound over time and the ones that keep putting out the same album every few years, but the fans don't mind at all. I'm talking about bands like Motorhead or Cannibal Corpse. Well, the band Gravedigger kind of falls into this category. I'm not saying every album sounds the same, they just have so many of them. I'm just saying that you kind of know what you're going to get, and it's not a bad thing. It's time to review another album by Gravedigger. This band has been around for a while. They released their first album in 1984, and they never really slowed down. They've been putting out albums every 3 or 4 years, or something like that. Basically, this is album number 21, and I haven't listened to them all. I reviewed their last album called The Symbol of Eternity from 2022, and I'll put that on the end screen, and I listened to their debut album just to get an idea of what they sounded like in the beginning. But basically, this band hasn't really changed their sound much over the years. The sound is somewhere along the lines of traditional heavy metal, thrash metal, and power metal. In other words, a combination of all those genres. That basically makes up the sound. Although on this album, I felt it was more of a thrash and heavy metal hybrid, but I'll get to more of that as I go through the songs and different stuff in the video. The album is called The Bone Collector, released on January 17, 2025. It has 11 songs, it's 46 minutes long. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 singles as well as the music videos, the album cover, and the songs, and I'll give my final thoughts and score at the end. As for the lineup, there is one major change, and that is longtime guitarist Alex Ritt left the band and was replaced by former Orden Ogan guitar player Tobias Kirsting, but there's not really any difference in their sound. The band is still fronted by vocalist and founding member Chris Boltenthal. This next part might be a little controversial, and I'm talking about the album cover. It's obviously AI generated, and I don't know why they did it, because by now everyone knows metalheads don't like AI generated album art, especially for their covers. It's not too bad, but if you look at it, you can find inconsistencies. For example, look at this skeleton in the background. It seems to be morphing into this bird. At the bottom, you can see these skeletons that have these weird collarbones sticking out. I mean, they could have at least had someone clean it up in Photoshop. But anyway, I start to wonder if I can make a better Gravedigger album cover. So I did that. So let me talk about that right now. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to make a new Gravedigger album cover using AI. I made a prompt, so let's take a look and see what happens. I'm going to be using Leonardo AI, and the prompt is, the Grim Reaper is sitting on a throne. There are 2 castles behind him. He's surrounded by tombstones, and there are skeletons around the image. There are also birds flying in the air and the moon in the background. Okay, I'm using flow state because I like this where it gives me various images. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we got that. That one's actually not too bad. We got one with 2 heads there. There's a cartoon one, and that one worked for Gravedigger. I think with a little tweaking in Canva, they can pull this off. This kind of looks like a Death album cover. Let's see a few more. This one is not bad. They can probably pull it off. This one's actually pretty cool. It looks like an Iron Maiden type of album. Too cartoonish. Kind of looks like Skeletor. And again, too cartoonish, but not bad. Okay, I'm in Canva now. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to try to play around with some of this. So Canva has this feature where you can just make these adjustments. So I'm thinking brightness, let me turn that down. Make it a little darker. And the temperature, because it was more of a darker, and the tint, probably want to make this like a little bluer. Let me go down to the color edit. So this one I can kind of play around and make it like a little more bluer, which was what they wanted in the beginning. I got the Gravedigger logo, and let me remove the background. Okay, there's the final product here. I kind of played around with the lighting, and I think it looks pretty good. This actually might be a little better than the original album cover. So, I don't know, this is just doing this for fun. So that was not too bad. I could probably make the next album cover if they're willing to hire me. I'll even do it for 100 euros. But let's go back to the review. Let me talk about the 3 singles released and their music videos. I listened to the singles a few times before the album had come out. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't blown away by the singles, and I think I mentioned that in my video talking about those albums I'm anticipating for 25. But with that being said, let me recap. The first one is Kingdom of Skulls. This one's pretty cool. I like the bass guitar intro. It's just some really fun heavy metal. That's how I describe it. There's some cool double bass drumming. The music video has a band playing in a cemetery. There are these characters in the video, a woman dressed in some tribal gear, some different skeletons around. The song's pretty heavy. It sounds similar to the last album by Saxon. Next was The Devil's Serenade. This one gave me some 80s metal vibes. The music's pretty straightforward. Probably one of the catchier singles. The music video has the Grim Reaper driving a car. He's removing the band from body bags so they can play the song. There are scenes from a stage show that feature a woman who appears to be hitting this giant piñata that looks like either Trump or Boris Johnson. Now, hopefully this doesn't get them in trouble and they don't get banned from playing either of those countries. And then the next single was called Killing Is My Pleasure. This one had to visualize the video, so scenes of different psychopaths and murderers. Song was a typical speed metal song. It was very fast-paced and energetic. It was also a catchy song and had a memorable chorus. I thought the music video was very representative of the sound. And out of all the singles, I thought one had more of an old school sound. Now for the album tracks. The album opens with The Bone Collector. At first you hear some ominous sounds, but then it goes into some pretty heavy thrash metal style guitar riffs. Kind of reminded me of some of those old Metallica Kill 'Em All era guitar riffs. The song is fast-paced, it's energetic. They continue with the speed throughout the song, and there are some catchy hooks in the song as well. After this, there's a song called The Rich, The Poor, The Dying, and I know it sounds like the last Megadeth album, but the song is another fast-paced speed metal song with fast and technical guitar riffs and lots of energy. I thought the drumming was very good on this song. The next album cut is called Mirror of Hate. This comes on the album after the 3 singles that I already spoken about. This one had more of that classic 80s heavy metal style. It was slower paced, it had a softer chorus. It was very dark sounding. You could hear some clean guitars in the verse section, and that was a pretty cool contrast, as the songs have been very heavy so far. This one also has some death metal style vocals. I think the song is one of the standouts. It might be one of my favorite tracks on the album. I think the album has this sweet spot, and that's going to be like the next few songs. So the next song is called Riders of Doom, and it has some cool mid-paced chugging as well as some haunting sounds in the background. I gave it another layer of sound. This one also has clean guitars in the verse section. Thought it was another good track. It was one of the catchier songs, one of the songs that had a slower pace, but the slower pace gave the song a more dark and heavy sound, almost as if it gave it some Black Sabbath vibes. It also has some pretty cool bass guitar parts that could be heard during the bridge. It was another one that I thought was a standout. After this, there's a song called Maze of Madness. This one had a soft intro, so I was expecting a ballad, but what I got was the complete opposite. The song took off with some killer riffs and lots of speed and aggression, had some cool bass guitar lines in the verse section, and I would say the song even went into some death metal territory in terms of guitar riffs. The song also had some thrashy grooves in the second part of the song. But now it's time to go back to basics. The next song was called Graveyard Kings. This one had a classic metal sound I was talking about before. It was one of the songs that was pretty straightforward. It had some chugging guitars, and overall, it was a pretty catchy melodic song. It was the kind of song that you've heard hundreds of times, but it doesn't bother you because it's just some cool, straightforward heavy metal. The penultimate song is called Forever Evil and Buried Alive. This is just another one of those straightforward thrashers with lots of the heavy metal energy. I don't have much to say about this one. It's just solid heavy metal with some dark lyrical themes. They end the album on a surprise note with a surprise ballad. The last song is called Whispers of the Damned. This was one of the songs that had a softer intro that slowly built up, starting with the clean guitars and then with the electric guitars. I would call this a heavy metal ballad as it had softer singing and clean guitars in the verses, but it was also a dark and heavy song. Also the longest song at over 6 minutes. Another one that reminded me of some of those later day Black Sabbath songs. This also had some pretty cool, awesome, distorted. This also had some cool, distorted bass guitar. So in conclusion, I thought it was a solid album. I would say I liked the second half of the album better as it was because it had some slower songs. Probably more of a personal preference, but I like it when metal bands add clean guitars and the change in tempos in the songs, as opposed to trying to play fast and heavy. I thought it was an album. It had better album cuts than the singles that were released, but that's always a good thing. Gives you something to look forward to. My score will be an 8 out of 10, with the potential to go up at the end of the month. I think it will be appearing on my end of the month list for January. It was just some solid heavy metal. Check out my review of the previous album from 22 called Symbol of Eternity. I'll stick it right there. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.